So next topic would be next topic for the morphology of flowering plants. So we have the buds. So what are buds? These are actually modified shoot, compact underdeveloped shoot, or stem. So we have different classification of buds based on their location. So first, we have the terminal buds or apical or apical buds. Pag sinabi kasi nating apical, ito yung mga nakikita sa dulo. Sa dulo. Okay? So, this type of buds, the terminal buds or apical buds, these are found sa tips. Okay? Sa tips ng stem. Dito. Sorry. Ayan. So, here. So, this one. It's the tip of the stem or the terminal bud. And then we have the lateral bud or the lateral bud sa sides naman, okay? So, found on the sides. And then lateral sides are actually divided further classified into 3 different types. We have axillary buds, the subaxillary buds, and then extra axillary buds. So, ano ba yung tatlong yun? So, axillary bud, for example, ito yung dahon ng plant. So, the axillary buds is found between the leaf and the stem. So, this one. So, this one is the axillary. And the bud that arises from here is called the axillary bud. Pag sinabi naman nating subaxillary, yun yung axillary bud which is found between the stem, this one, the stem, and the axillary bud. So, pinagitnaan siya ng axillary bud and the stem. So, that's the subaxillary bud. And the extra axillary bud, so if this is the leaf, okay, and this is the upper, this portion, ito yung upper portion ng leaf, the extra axillary bud can be found below this one. So, opposite nung axillary bud. So, sa baba siya. Okay? Also between the leaf and the stem, pero sa baba siya manggagaling. Okay? So, that's the extra axillary buds. Okay? So, another classification of buds, they're classified depending on what they will give rise to. So, first, we have the vegetative buds, which will give rise to stem, roots, and the leaves, the vegetative parts. Pag floral buds, of course, that will give rise to flowers. And then mixed buds, that would either give rise to flowers or vegetative parts. Okay? So those are the 3. And then, we can also further classify buds, these are the modifications. Okay? So, modifications of buds. First, we have bulbils. Nakakita na kayo siguro ng aerial potato, yung tinatawag nating aerial potato or the Dioscorea bulbifera. Ayan. So, this is the aerial potato, and this structure here, that is actually the bud. Okay? So, that yung bulbils, yun ay yung those are the clones. Okay? Vegetative clones of the mother plant, which can be used for the reproduction. Okay? So, parang reproductive part siya nung mother plant. Okay? So, this is actually a bud. It's not a root or anything, but this is a bud, which we call bulbil. Okay? So, in this example, we have the aerial potato or the Dioscorea bulbifera. Okay, and then another modification of buds. So, another modification of buds, we have the tendrils. So, these tendrils are modified to support the plants para makaakyat siya, because this plants with tendrils, they have weak stem. Hindi nila kayang i-support yung weight ng buong plant. So, they have this special structure called tendrils to support the whole plant. So, tendrils are actually axillary buds for climbing. Okay? And then some buds, are modified into thorns. So this can be for protection. Okay? Protection dun sa plant against herbivores. Okay? Ayan. So buds, again, these are compact, modified shoots or stem. Okay? So, we also have, in addition to that, so buds can also be classified depending on which part of the plant sila nanggagaling, or on which these buds will grow. Okay, so first on the stem, we also call it colline buds, and then they can be found on roots, on the roots of the plants or the radical buds, and then sa leaves naman ang tawag is foliar buds. Okay, so we'll move on to the next organ of a plant, of a flowering plant, which is the stems. Okay, so stems, paano ba na, when you look at some plants, diba, it's quite confusing, or it's quite hard to tell kung saan nag-e-end ang root and stem. Okay, but it will be easier if we are going to look for the nodes and internodes. So stems have nodes and internodes. If that's a root, wala siyang nodes tsaka internodes. But if that's a stem, they have nodes and internodes that will give rise to branches or leaves. Okay? So stems can be found aerial or above ground. Subaerial if doon siya sa surface mismo ng ground, that's subaerial, and then underground, of course, that's below the ground. Okay? So stems, so we can classify stems according to their branching. So we have the column or culm, which is in sugarcane. So in sugarcane, di ba meron siyang nodes and internodes. Yung nodes is yung guhit-guhit niya, di ba? And in between yung guhit ng sugarcane, those are actually the internodes. Okay? And then doon sa nodes ng sugarcane, doon sa may guhit, di ba doon na nagsisimula yung leaf sheath or yung kanyang dahon. Okay? So every node meron siyang dahon. So that's actually a column or culm type of branching. And then for letter B, the codex, that is in coconut. So wala siyang branch actually, diretso lang siyang ganyan. So these are parang na-collect sila into one place lang, parang ganon. So they look like it looks like wala silang branch. So that's codex. And excurrent for pines. So excurrent, meron silang tinatawag na acropital branching. Yung tinatawag nating acropital branching, the oldest leaves or the older leaves, these ones, yung nasa baba, the older leaves are actually longer than the newer leaves or the newer ones. So see? Ayan. So because of that acropital branching, na mas mahaba yung older leaves, napo-form nila yung shape na conical, or ayun, they have a conical shapes ng crown. Diba? This is particularly seen sa mga pines. Okay, this is excurrent. And then letter D, the fourth one or the most common one, usually seen in most trees, we have the decurrent. Okay, so pag decurrent naman, random, no? Walang mas mahaba, walang mas maiksi sa baba or sa taas. It's random yung length ng mga branches. Okay? And this type of plants have strong trunks. Ayan. This one is the most common. Random yung kanyang branching. Okay? And then meron din tayong tinatawag na, this is not a type, although this is a term, no, for branching. We have dichotomous branching. Tinatawag nating dichotomous branching. So let's look at this one. So this one is a single branch, tama? Okay, this is a single branch. And then, it will give rise to another 2 branches. And then this, each of those 2 branches will give rise to another 2 branches. Parang ganon. So, this one is the branch, tama? And then, that branch will give rise to 2 other branches, and then, another 2 sa bawat branch na yon. Ganyan. Okay, I think you get the point. So, that's dichotomous branching. Okay? And then, we have the modifications of stem of underground stem. Okay? So, yung mga nakikita natin sa picture, they may look like roots nung una, di ba? It's quite surprising nung hindi pa tinuturo sa atin sa botany or sa biology. Diba? But we have these terms, the modification of stems. So, rhizomes, bulbs, corms, and tubers are actually stem, not roots. These are modified stems. So, kung naalala ninyo, hindi natin sinmama si patatas doon sa modifications of taproots because tubers, these kinds of tubers, potato in particular, are stem. Okay, this is a modified stem. So, we'll see why. Okay. So, the first one, the tubers, ito, example is, very classic example is potato. Hindi siya roots because it has nodes. Okay? So, here, di ba? From the node, magkakaroon siya ng bagong stem that will give rise to a new plant. If you cut that, tutubo pa rin yan. Okay? Because you have the node there. Pwede pa rin yung mag-roots. Okay? So, ito na yung mga roots niya. This whole thing here, yan yung buong yan, yung kinakain natin sa patatas, that is actually a stem, a modified stem. Okay? And then, ito, yung mga stem na yan, those are actually the branches already. Okay? And then, here's the node. Yan. Kaya hindi siya roots. Okay? So, what's the purpose of tubers? These tubers are modified to serve as storage or for starch. So, these are starchy food. Starchy stem. Okay? And the next one, we have the rhizome. So, si rhizome, ito is common or unique to gingers and turmerics. Diba? So, how can we differentiate these ones from other modified stems? They are actually palateral sila, di ba? Pa horizontal, pa side yung kanilang growth. Okay? So, yung nakikita natin sa ginger na guhit-guhit, if you look at the ginger, I'm sure nakita ninyo yan, this guhit-guhit are actually the nodes. Okay? Di ba pag sinabi natin kapag may nodes at merong internode, that is a stem. So, these ones, the guhit-guhit na yan, are actually the nodes. And then, di ba, minsan makikita ninyo yung ginger, meron na siyang green na parang buds. Okay, so those buds will give rise to the shoots that will go above ground. So, yun yung tutubo sa taas to perform photosynthesis. Okay? So, here is ito, yung bawat segment na yan, yung tinatawag ng segments, or the stem segments are actually internodes. Okay, and these ones are the roots. So, these rhizomes serves as both a storage organ and a reproductive organ. Okay, and the next one, we have corms. Corms usually in colocasia, yung mga taro, diba? So, parang yung sa rhizome din, yung guhit-guhit na nakikita natin sa corm, sa gabi, sa taro, okay, yun yung tinatawag nating nodes. Ayan. And then, di ba kapag nagbabalat tayo ng taro or ng gabi, yung meron siyang parang scales, na this is the scale leaf, yung balat-balat niya, those are actually leaves, scale leaf na tinatawag. And then, this shoot here, ito, di ba sa base niyan, that is the node, this line here, that is the node. Okay? So, doon magmumula yung mga buds or the shoots na that will grow also above ground to perform photosynthesis. And these growths here are actually the roots. Okay? So, this whole thing here, yung kinakain natin, okay, also like tubers, yung kinakain natin na yan, that is the modified stem. Okay? So, what's the difference doon sa tubers? So, corms actually have bigger width. Mas malaki yung kanilang width compared sa kanilang height. And then, sa tubers naman, they don't have any particular shape. Very random shape. They have very random shape. Okay? So, corms, yung kanilang width is bigger than their height. That's the common one. Okay? And then, the last modification, underground modification of stems, we have the bulb. So, in this, sa bulb, so bulbs are further divided into two. We have the tunicated and then non-tunicated. Yung tinatawag nating tunic or tunicated, meron siyang covering. May covering yung bulb. Okay, so let's see first yung parts ng bulb na to. So, this one, ayan, may label na siya. This is the adventitious roots. And then, yung base na nandyan, kung saan nanggaling yung adventitious roots, that is actually the stem. Okay? Yan yung stem. So, this whole thing here is actually fleshy leaf. Ay, hindi siya stem. This is actually already a part of the fleshy leaf. Okay? So, yung bawat ganyan na yan, di ba ganyan ang tawag dito, onion. So, those are actually modified leaves. So, yung kinakain natin sa onion is actually fleshy leaf. Okay? So, yung stem niya is nandito. And then, kung nakatanim yan, to the upper portion, ayan, the upper portion yan yung pupunta above ground to perform photosynthesis. Okay? So, that's bulb. Ayan. So, we have the two types of bulb, the tunicated and the non-tunicated. And then, tunicated bulbs, we have onion and garlic. Meron silang covering, di ba? Yung nagda-dry siya. Yun yung inaalis natin before cooking. Okay? So, yung inaalis natin before cooking onions or garlic, that's the tunic or the covering. Okay? And then, the non-tunicated, examples for non-tunicated, we have lily plants. Ayan. Okay. Another modification, so kung kanina, we have the underground stems, underground modifications of stems. Now, we'll see yung subaerial modifications. Pag subaerial, yan yung nandun lang sila sa surface na soil. Okay? So, first modification, we have the runner. So, runner are terrestrial. So, parang ang opposite niya kasi nito is, the opposite ng runner is the offset. Pareho lang sila. The major difference is that the offset is aquatic, and then sa runner, that is, they are terrestrial or sa lupa. Okay? So, how would you tell these runners from other modifications? So, sa runners, meron silang maraming nodes in between. Okay? So, ayan, marami silang nodes. And also, when one of the nodes will get in contact with the soil, mag-grow siya ng roots, and then, ayan na, mag-grow siya ulit ng bagong leaves, bagong shoots. Okay? So, bakit siya tinawag na runner? So, parang yung growth na kasi is step by step. Pag nag-grow na to, and then mag-grow ulit siya ng ganon. And then, mag-grow ulit siya after some time lang ganyan. So, parang step by step. Kaya siya tinawag na runner. Okay? And then, sa offset, ganon din. Although, sa offset plants, they are aquatic, and also, yung kanilang stem, diba, yung sa water hyacinth, but this is not the water hyacinth. Yung sa water hyacinth, kung makikita ninyo yung kanyang stem, meron siyang bulbous appearance, yung parang mataba, swollen portion. So that swollen portion is actually what we call erenchyma. So that erenchyma in water hyacinth, it is filled with air so that the plant will float, okay, sa surface ng water. And so, yun lang naman, offset. These are aquatic. And, of course, we have sucker. Okay, so suckers, their branch will remain underground. So, for example, ito yung lupa. Ito yung lupa. So, the branches, these are the branches. Yan. So, yung branches, they will remain underground. And then, after some time, magde-develop yung nodes ng roots. And then magkakaroon ng bagong shoot, aerial shoot. Okay, na pupunta above ground to perform photosynthesis. So, remember, yung branch niya, okay, will remain underground. So, hindi natin nakikita yung parang sunod-sunod na connections or the branches, hindi natin makikita yan because they remain underground. So, that's sucker. So, ang opposite niya naman, parang opposite niya, is the stolon. So, stolons naman, yung kanilang branch, so this one, yung parang branch niya, yung branching niya is pataas. So, kung yung kanina, pababa, tapos aakyat, ito naman, tataas, tapos bababa, and then they will form roots, and then new aerial shoots. Ganun lang. So, yung trajectory niya lang, parang ganun. So, examples for suckers, we have mint, banana, pineapple, and also bamboo. So, that's suckers. And then for stolons, example is we have strawberries. Ayan. Okay. Another interesting modifications of stems in plants, flowering plants, we have the aerial modifications. So, tapos na natin yung underground, and then the subaerial modification, which is on the soil surface, and then we have now the aerial modification. So, first modification is we have the phylloclads. Phylloclads na yan, yung sa cactus, yung nakikita natin isang ganyan, these are actually the stem. Okay, that whole thing, that's the stem. And then, nasaan yung internode? Ito. Kung saan nagmumula yung bagong stem. So, this thing is the whole stem. Ayan. So, kung saan siya naka-attach, that's the node. Sorry, that's the node. Okay? So, here, it's another node here. And then, another node here. So, this space that's in between those two nodes, that's the internode. Okay? So, this one is a new stem. So, ano naman yung mga thorns na yan, yung mga tusok na yan? These are actually the leaves. Ito yung dahon ng cactus. Okay? So, bakit kaya ganyan yung structure ng cactus? So, remember, cactus are xerophytes, or these plants can thrive in areas or climate with very little amount of water. Okay? So, in order to conserve or para tipirin, conserve their water content sa kanilang system, or to minimize water loss, yung leaves nila are modified into spine. Okay? So yung function ng photosynthesis is given to the stem. So, yung stem ang photosynthetic part. Okay? So, the phylloclads are actually green stem, thick green fleshy stem. So, cactuses. Okay, next modification is the cladodes. Cladodes, this is not very common in agricultural crops, but we have one example that is in asparagus. So, every isang ganyan, that is the stem. Okay, so yung leaf niya is nandito sa baba. Here's the stem. Parang ito yung main stem, and these are the branches. These are also branches, or yung stem. They are in clusters. So that's cladodes. Example is asparagus. And then we have the thorns. So stems modified into thorns. example is citrus, yung mga bougainvillea. Okay, so these are axillary, parang axillary stem. So ito yung leaf, 'di ba? Ito yung leaf, and then andito yung thorn. In between the main stem and then the leaf, andito yung thorn. Okay? So those are this can be found in citrus and bougainvillea, yung mga ganyan may tinik-tinik. And then another example, or sorry, another classification, we have the stem tendrils. Stem tendrils like in passiflora or the passion fruit, ampalaya. Okay, so stem tendrils or tendrils, okay, they support the plant kasi nga weak yung stem ng plant, hindi niya kayang umakyat na siya lang. Okay? So, kapag hindi siya aakyat, hindi siya makakapag-photosynthesize. Tama? So, it needs support. Kaya meron siyang tendrils. So, this curly part is the tendril. Okay? Na magkukoil doon sa anything na pwede niyang kapitan. Yung support niya. Okay? And then, ito, yung bulbil. Of course, we discussed bulbil. This is a clone, ito, the bulbil clone siya. These are the clones of the mother plant. So, they are actually reproductive in purpose. Ayan. So, in weak stems, we also have yung mga classifications for weak stems. These are the plants, plants with weak stem. They cannot support themselves. So, first is the creepers. So, creepers, hindi sila umaakyat but they grow parallel to the ground, so pa-horizontal or lateral yung kanilang growth. And then second, we have the trailers. They have multiple nodes and internodes, and roots do not arise from nodes. So yung mga nodes na hindi nagkakaugat, and then they grow in different directions. Number 3 is the lianas or woody climbers. The number 4, we have the climbers. So, sa climbers, there are actually another two classification, the rootlet and the tendril. Hindi na natin ilalagay dyan. So, this is just a overview. And then, number 5, we have the twiners. I'm not sure if you pronounce it as twiners or twiners. Okay, I think it's twiners. So, kung yung tendrils, meron siyang stem, modified stem to coil sa any support materials or support anything that will support its growth para makaakyat siya. Yung twiners naman, the weak stem, ito mismong weak stem niya yung magkukoil doon sa support. Wala na siyang tendril. Ito mismo na yung stem niya yung iikot doon sa support niya. Parang ganun. I've seen some sa weeds but I'm not sure what are the name of those. You observe, if you, so what, di ba marami kayong memorize like this one, there are so many classifications. So when you go out, when you buy vegetables, you try to apply these classifications, para mas maalala ninyo. Parang, if you see tawag dito, kung may nakuha kang, or bumili ka ng patatas, so you look at the potato, this is the node. Yung mga mata-mata niya, those are nodes. Okay? So, in between those nodes, we call that internodes. This is a tuber, mga ganon. Actually, you're applying. So, that's why you will be able to remember these things better. Okay? So, that's just a tip. So, those are the modifications of a stem.